And welcome to episode 182 of Habs Unfiltered. I'm your host, Blaine Pudvang. I'm joined now by my co-hosts, Matt Smith.
Afternoon.
And Treg Wilson.
Good afternoon.
So our plan was to normally only do one show a week, but with what's happened this weekend, we thought, hey, let's do a quick weekend roundup of the slow news week that's happened with the Canadiens. So if anyone's been living under a rock for the last day, Jesperi Kotkaniemi has signed an offer sheet with the Carolina Hurricanes for $6.1 million for 1 year. So we're going to talk a little bit about what this means, what we think is going to happen, what we feel should happen, and, just general hockey discussion. But to lay it out, essentially, it's $6.1 million for 1 year. This makes his qualifying offer next year, the $6.1 million. It also means he cannot be traded throughout the entire season, regardless of if it's matched or not. It also means the compensation is a first round pick and a third round pick for 2022. It also means that he is going to be overpaid. So we'll start with Matt on why he thinks Carolina did this.
I just think it was just for spite, to be honest. It's got Aho written all over it. The signing bonus was $20, and that's Aho's number. They released it in English and in French, just like the Canadians would. They used the same wording when it came the time where they talked about the player signing and wanting to be on the team. Like, I just think it was just a class. It's not the fact that they did it. It was just how they did it. Like, if they would have just said, we did it, it was all the extra shit that I didn't like. That they just kind of seemed like it was just childish. And there's reports out there that it wasn't Waddell, it was Dundon, and we all know he's an idiot. So, you know what it is, like I've never really been a fan of the Hurricanes, and I've really thought their organization as a whole is kind of a joke. I like some players on their team, but that's about all I can say. They wanted to get a center. They went out and they pulled this mess with the Canadians. We'll see what happens moving forward, but I just think it was just the way that they handled it. I just think it was very classless, and we'll see what happens moving forward in the coming days.
Lived up to their name, bunch of jerks, I guess. I mean,
that's exactly it.
Yeah, according to Renaud Lavoie, it is all Dundon's idea and not Waddell's. But regardless, I'm going to agree with you and say it was childish. If they had done it and just did the thing, gave the offer sheet.
Yeah, if they would have just done it, it was just all the extra stuff that I wasn't a fan of. Regardless of where the player ends up, it just kind of made me shake my head, right?
Yeah, it's all those little things, the cut and paste of all the press releases from the Aho deal. Everything points to, we did this because we're being petty.
That's right.
And I mean, and that's fine. You could, if they had just done the offer sheet as they had done it without all the extra little, childish stuff, you could say, okay, yeah, it's a revenge offer sheet.
Yeah.
And that's par for the course.
And then you eat that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think fans would have felt better about it. And I think, we wouldn't be, I'm not going to say going as in depth with this conversation, but I'm just not a fan of how it's played out so far. And I know it's only the first day, and we haven't heard from Bergevin yet. We haven't heard about the organization, but yeah,
I don't think we're going to hear anything. I don't think we're going to hear anything for a little while. But Treg, now that you're back in, we're just talking about the offer sheet itself from Carolina and how it's clearly a revenge offer sheet.
Yeah, it is. Like, I mean, 6.1 million. They only went that high because they know it would screw over Montreal if they because of the qualifying offer the next season.
Yeah.
Also, it only gives Montreal first and a third if they don't match it. I think it was 6.3 or something, or 6.5. You go up to first, second, and third. So, and I agree with Matt about the $20 and the statement was put out the exact same thing Bergevin said in 2019. And all this stuff. It was total revenge. Some people say it's type of business. I think it was a bit petty. I think they only did it because of the offer sheet that was put out in 2019. But if I'm Kotkaniemi, I'm signing it in a heartbeat. I mean, I just made 3 times more than what I was going to make.
Well, yeah, no one can blame him for signing that. I mean, come on.
Anyone who I've seen on Twitter that he's a traitor and all this stuff, like,
No.
just shut your trap. You would sign if you were making $100 working what you're working now, and someone came up to you and said, "I'm going to give you $300 to do the same job." You're going to go over and do $300, make $300 to do the same job. So,
yeah. So this is it for me. It's clearly not a hockey business as usual or standard hockey practice. This is a clear-cut case of revenge because you got butthurt. If the Carolina Hurricanes were actually doing this to try and get a player in, because that's what the Canadians did. You can think it's underhanded all you want, and you can criticize Bergevin for not doing it the right way, but they were trying to get Aho. They wanted to improve. They targeted a player that they felt could improve the team, so they went after him. In this case, it's clear-cut revenge, because if you are going to offer sheet someone, why are you not offer sheeting Quinn Hughes? You need defensemen. Instead of putting $1 million onto a racist piece of shit like D'Angelo, why aren't you offer sheeting Quinn Hughes?
true. Or why not Elias Patterson? If you really want to put your money where your mouth is,
Yeah.
why aren't you offer sheeting Elias Patterson? They offer sheet. I mean, in all honesty, if Montreal Bergevin's smart, he doesn't match it, because then he really screws over the Canes. The Canes will be $2 million over the cap going into the season. Mind you, they can make a move beforehand. You're paying your 4C $6.1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kotkaniemi's not playing higher than 4C.
Well, if you look at the Carolinas makeup right now, you've got Aho as your clear cut number 1. They also have Trocheck, who's much better than Kotkaniemi, put up 43 points last year in 47 games. So he's not going to usurp him. And then you've got Jordan Stahl, who's your captain. So
Plus you got Martin Neshkash.
Exactly. And then they brought in Derek Stepan as well.
By the way, Nekach, he's an RFA next year.
Yeah, I'm
just saying.
Not even going to
just put it out there.
Yeah.
So's Ryan Suzuki.
Well, I want to talk about Suzuki and Caulfield, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's keep on this on the Carolina point of view by doing an offer sheet. So they're gambling that the Canadians are going to match, and if they don't, that means they have that player.
Yep.
The Hurricanes are going to be over the cap, like you mentioned, about $2 million, I think. So they're going to have to do some moves, and you look at their center depth and you think, why? Why would you?
And even
why would you gamble there?
Right, and even on the wings, like they've got some guys that can play the wing, and like Kotkaniemi is pretty much said like he wants to be a center, and right now it's looking like this move, if he was to go to Carolina, is going to push him to the wing.
Even if he goes to the wing, he's not playing any higher than the third line.
That's right.
Exactly. Had Carolina really wanted to have a little bit of a revenge, but also improve their team in some way, they would have waited for Caulfield. But they did. This is just a move solely done to try and mess with the Canadians' cap structure, as the Canadians did with them. And that's part of the business. The player signed it, so it's something that the Canadians are going to have to deal with.
So, in your thoughts, what does this say about the player?
Nothing. It says that he's getting more money for the same job.
Okay.
It said, now if the offer sheet was like $3 million, and he was getting 2.5 with the Canadians, then I'd be like, okay, you just don't want to be with the Canadians anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A Dano type situation.
Yeah.
You're going to take that extra 500. If that extra 500 was your reason for going, then you really didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But he tripled his money.
Yeah.
He
But this is-
literally, he's making in 1 year what he would have been making over 3 to 4 years in Montreal.
So the argument that some people have been putting forward on social media is that being sat in the finals and having the GM kind of waffle on his
on its worth.
for next season made him want to leave.
Mhm.
I'm going to say no, really. I mean, yeah, sure. If I were the player, I'd be kind of upset.
I honestly think this is all to do with money, dollars,
It's
and cents.
money.
And and I'm not going to say it's greed, but he was gonna be playing. He was going to be given an opportunity more so in Montreal, and he was actually going to be able to be playing with some quality winners, because he was either going to have Drouin, Gallagher, Hoffman, Anderson, whoever on his wing. Like this was his time to step up. Like Philip Deneau left Montreal, and yeah, he left for a little bit extra money. However, we all know that he was a little bit scared of losing ice time to the young guys. And we saw that Suzuki was jumping up and more into the fold and being more of the number one, even though Deneau was still playing a prominent role. Now you've got Kotkaniemi, who was going to jump into that spot as probably the 2C, was going to be given this opportunity. And now he saw the dollars, his eyes got big, and he signed the contract. So my issue with it is, if he does come back to Montreal, how is the organization going to see him? How are the players going to react to him? How are the fans going to react to him? And if it doesn't pan out, how is this going to look on him? All the pundits are going to, right? But all the people are going to be out there saying, which there's lots already out there now saying that they shouldn't have drafted him in the first place. Obviously he's not worth 6.1. We all know that. From a hockey standpoint, I don't think it was the best move for him. For a financial standpoint, obviously it's phenomenal.
Well, this is clearly all about money, and this is where I think his agent kind of failed him.
Oh, 100%.
He should have been looking at this and saying, okay, well, between those two teams, which one is the one that's going to give me the larger opportunity to showcase myself?
Yep.
It's not Carolina.
Nope.
We just covered that.
Yep.
Which one is going to be the one that's more apt to give me more time to showcase myself? It's not Carolina. Which one is going to give me a better supporting cast? Like you mentioned, it's not Carolina. So in the long term, yeah, he's making 6.1 this year, and the qualifying offer is 6.1. But if he doesn't play up to that level, he becomes a UFA. That's great. It means he can sign anywhere he wants. But who's going to give him the big payday money? Who would be more open to paying him?
Yeah.
It's Montreal. Montreal has that. If he were to be even a 45-point player, they'd have to be more apt to be willing to pay him on his potential.
That's right.
So he's kind of shooting himself in the foot over the longer term, but I can totally understand why he signed this deal.
He's not only shooting himself in the foot over the longer term, but also in the short term, because if Montreal matches, he's under now so much pressure as the second center to produce at $6.1 million. He's going to have to get 60 to 70 points this season, or no one's going to be satisfied.
Yeah, and this isn't just on the fans. Like the media's already rough on him as it is.
So
it's going to get that much worse for him if he does come back to Montreal.
And then if he doesn't produce, Montreal is going to be like, well, we're not giving you a 6.1 million qualifying offer because you're a 30-point center, right? You're not a number 2 center. We have to go out and get a number 2 center. They're not going to be. I mean, the issue with Montreal is they won't be able to trade him because they can't trade him for a year anyway. So it's really not going to matter. So this whole flip him at the trade deadline. Well, even if they could, no one's taking 6.1 million for a center that's not producing.
True.
Number 2 is they can't do it anyhow if they match the offer. So
neither can Carolina.
But I think Kotkaniemi, I don't think the players and the organization is going to look any different to him. I really don't.
No.
Like I said, this goes back to the fact he tripled his friggin' salary by doing this, and I do not blame, and no one's going to blame him for doing that. right? And you can't really blame Mark Bergevin for this. You can because he could have signed him earlier, maybe, I guess, but maybe
Yes.
it takes two to sign. Maybe Kotkaniemi, maybe he had the offer out already. I don't know. And Kotkaniemi just didn't sign it yet. And then all of a sudden Carolina was like, hey, what's going on, buddy? Or maybe Carolina was already talking to his agent saying, hey, we might put an offer sheet on Kotkaniemi. I don't know, right? But if you can't blame Bergevin for the offer sheet, the only thing you could say is if you would have signed him probably right away or sooner, we wouldn't have this issue. He should have seen this coming.
Yeah.
I think he should have saw everyone else. I saw it coming. You mentioned it before that I thought they would offer sheet Suzuki personally. I thought it'd be Suzuki or Caulfield in their RFA year. My personal opinion, that's who I would have done.
And I think they chose not to go there because, and chose Kotkaniemi because they felt that this would be more of a slap in the face because he's that higher draft pick. Also, it's more likely they, something like this, it's, a 1-year deal. Even if the Canadians don't match, to them, it doesn't mean shit. So what? They gave up a first and a third for Dundon. This is him telling the Canadians to go fuck themselves. So for him, it's worth it.
For him, but on a team level for Carolina, it's not worth it. If
He
Montreal
doesn't
doesn't match
about that.
No. If Montreal doesn't match, then Don Waddell got to do a couple magic tricks to try to clean up his thing, and then he's stuck with the 6.1 qualifying officer.
But Dundon doesn't give a fuck about that. For him,
No,
it's about my balls are bigger. For the Canadians now, this is the issue. This is what we all agree. Like you've said it before, we all agree that this is far beyond what he's worth right now. But I feel that the Canadians are going to match. Do you guys agree?
I don't.
You think they're going to let him walk?
I think they're going to let him walk.
Is because of the qualifying offer and the no trade and all that?
Yeah, I think they're going to let him walk, and I think they're going to use the draft pick or whatever they have to go out and get another second round pick or another 2C.
Another center.
Monahan's available, Dvorak's available. They have options that they can go and get. And Eric Engels tweeted.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
Jack Eichel is on his way to Montreal with hockey sticks.
Yeah, this is from Eric Engels, and I'm going to read the tweet specifically. I don't know why. Could be a pure coincidence, but Jack Eichel is boarding a plane headed for Montreal right now, and he's bringing his hockey sticks with him. He follows that up with one good reason he could be on his way is because BioSteel Camp is going down here this week. So we talked about this off air before we started recording. And I thought with the new agent that he has in Pat Brisson, maybe he's doing a workout with him. Turns out BioSteel Camp is there. So, Montreal Twitter can dial it back.
Yeah, he's not. Eichel's not coming to Montreal. I don't care what.
But he's there now.
No, I meant to the team. However, Montreal with a second first round pick now has the opt. They can go maybe get a Monahan, Dvorak. They have many options they can do to try to get center from somebody.
Do you think? And I'm just going to spitball off you saying your thought that they won't match. Do you think that the part of the reason also is they're looking at future salary structure?
Yes, they have to sign Nick Suzuki next season. Kotkaniemi making $6.1 million. That boosts Suzuki almost up to the 8-9 million, at least the 8-9 million
as a comparable.
At least. Because Suzuki's agent's going to go, if you're paying a 34-point score at 6.1 million, I'm not saying, like I said, unless Kotkaniemi scores 60 to 70 points next season, right? If you're paying this guy 6.1 to get this, and my guy, let's be honest, Suzuki should get 60 to 70 points next season, at least, right? He was on pace for 60 this season. Then my guy should be making this.
Now, Matt, do you think that this bullshit is going to wake Bergevin up, or whoever replaces him as GM, and get the Canadians to drop their their bridge deal methodology? Because everybody else has been bridge dealed.
Depends
Do you
on the
think they're
player.
going to skip that with Suzuki and
For
Caulfield?
me, it depends on the player. I think Caulfield and Suzuki, I think they're going to skip that.
Yeah.
For other players throughout the organization, I think most of them have been the right call. And I would have bridge dealed Kotkaniemi as well.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't have signed him to a 1 year deal worth this much. I wouldn't have signed him to a long-term deal and then hope on the player. For me, you would have got a 2-year deal, probably, $6 million or something. 2.5 1 year and 3.5 the other, or something like that. But now we're in this kind of conundrum, finding out what's going to go on in the next 6 days. It's just been, it hasn't been the, yes, there's been the good points of the Montreal's off season, but at the same time, there's been a lot of negativity, and with the whole Logan Mayo pick, and now Kotkaniemi, who is a former first round pick, who you were going to just give an opportunity to jump into your top 6. You just lost your defensive shutdown center to the Kings. And now Kotkaniemi was part of, and he knew what he was doing, and he saw the salary structure and everything like this. For me, it doesn't sit well with me from the player's standpoint, based on the fact that he was part of this embarrassing moment for the Canadians and for their organization.
Oh, you mean the offer sheet?
Yeah. It's not even the offer sheet. It's the $20 signing bonus. It's this, it's that. Like, he saw the money, but it's just the fact that he could have easily said no, or I don't know. I'm just not. I'm looking at the player different than I did before. I'm not gonna say like I'm gonna like throw him down in the dumpster or anything, but like I look at Kotkaniemi as a different player now. And until he hits the ice with the Canadians, if that's what ends up happening, and plays up to that mark, then I'm going to continue to kind of think negative of him going forward for a little while.
I don't.
I don't know.
I think his agent covered all the money issues for it, put the contract in front of him, and signed like the $20 thing.
Yeah,
That's something the agent should have picked up on, not the player.
Yeah.
Not the player.
Yeah.
But if he comes back, it handicaps the team so much.
Well, and I think that he will be matched, and I agree that that's going to cause problems with the cap structure. The Canadians are supposedly, if you look at Cap Geek, they're supposed to be around 200,000 over the cap if they keep him. But according to Eric Engels, who spoke to the team, they said that they can fit him under the cap. So with the long-term injury reserve for Shea Weber and for Byron, they're okay. Now, the issue is once Byron comes back, how much over the cap are you going to be when Byron comes back at Christmas time?
It's also going to hurt them.
Yeah, it'll hurt them on the ice.
It's also going to hurt them if they wanted to make another move for, say, a puck-moving defenseman.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I want to say not for center, because obviously if they're going with Kotkaniemi, they're going with Kotkaniemi. But if they were going to make a move for a top 4 defenseman, they had close to $10 million in cap space with the LTIR relief. Now they don't. So now they're much slower than that. So
yeah. So now do they instead, it changes plans. So instead of making a move with a little bit of extra cap space that they thought they might have had, they're going to be right up against it. And which I think is also another reason why they picked the exact number they did to sign Kotkaniemi to. It's not a random number just for compensation, because it's still a couple 100,000 below that compensation line.
Yep.
It was done solely to push them right up to the cap with the long-term injury reserve. So it's a brilliant move if your idea is to cripple the other team's finances for a year. But so it'll cause them problems to make other moves. But once Byron comes back, they're going to have to probably give up some assets to move someone like Byron out to keep that space.
Yeah. But who's going to take Byron and his $3.4 million coming off a hip surgery.
Well, you can probably move him to, say, Arizona if you're willing to give them some
Mm.
picks or a prospect. Like, it's going to cost them assets to make that space.
I mean, Bergman got to ask himself too before he matches it. Kotkaniemi right now is not worth 6.1 million.
No.
Could I get a first and a third round pick if I try to trade Kotkaniemi on the open market?
Yes. You can probably get more.
Maybe. I don't think they would.
Do you
personally.
think that, but he's also got to ask himself, does he think that Kotkaniemi is going to be a $6 million player in the next couple of years?
That's what I was getting at. And
Yeah.
his third question is he going to be a $6 million player in the future? Right now, I think the Habs are 50-50 on him. I think they're like, he could turn out. And I don't think that's why on this press conference, he's like, well, we're going to work with him. They're willing to work with him, but I don't think they see him right now. Unless he works on these things, they don't see him right now as that go-to. I think they're very leery going into this season as him as a 2C. They're willing to do it, but they're very, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have this offer sheet bullshit going on, that they waited till Christmas to see how well he did and then looked at trying to get maybe another center in there to cover it up. And now they don't have the option to do that now.
Well, this is why I made that
If they
statement.
match.
That's why I in my opening statement when it came to this is this was the opportunity for him to shine. This was the opportunity for him to have some wingers that can
Yeah.
actually put the puck in the net. This wasn't a year that he was going to jump into the lineup and have, and no offense to these players, but he wasn't going to jump in and have Lehkonen and Armia as his wingers. He was likely going to have some people that can really score.
Top six types.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
given power play time, maybe even given PK time, and to really be to round out his all around game. But they said now he's, I don't know.
He's going to be
It's,
under a lot of pressure now.
Oh, 100%. And it doesn't matter where he ends up.
No.
If he ends up in Carolina, he's going to get the scrutiny from Montreal and from their fans and from media, especially if he doesn't perform. And then,
well, I mean, Carolina media is what?
no.
Sarah
I'm
Sivian
talking
and one other
about
person?
it's going to be the, you know what I mean. The Montreal media, they'll find ways, right? Like Montreal, like, well, the thing is, Carolina plays Montreal the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever ends up whatever avenue this goes in, this is going to be a top story within the first couple of weeks of the season.
You got to look at it too. At 6.1 million and 6.1 million qualified offer next year, is Kotkaniemi really going to be here long term after this offer sheet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if he doesn't turn out, like if he matches and he doesn't get 60 to 70 points, and I'm telling you, it's going to have to be 60 to 70 points, even though realistically, I look at him getting 45, 50 realistically at 2.5. If he was making 2.5 million, I'd be happy with that. Hey, good for him. He's improving. He's doing his job.
And then he would
right?
probably be in line for a long-term deal.
Yes, absolutely.
Correct. At $4.5 to $5 million, maybe.
Or maybe even 6.
Maybe even 6.
Potential.
However, now he literally has to go out in Montreal and get at least 60 to 70 points.
Just look what they did to Drouin at 5.5.
Yeah.
He got 53 points and he was the worst player they'd ever seen in their lives.
Still is.
Yeah.
And he still averages almost 50 points a season if he plays a full season.
He's a friggin' winger.
So I'd have to look at salary structure and everything and the ins and outs. I'm not 100% versed in every little aspect of it, and it is one of those slippery slopes once you get down into that. But in my
failure,
I believe if the team elects club elected arbitration, they can actually sign them for less. The qualifying offer can be less.
Yeah, but it's only going to have to be 5.2 million because it's only something like 85%.
Yeah.
They still have to sign 85% of the contract. I only know this because I just read it on Twitter like an hour ago.
Okay.
So the lowest he can go is 5.2 million, but that rarely ever works in the team's favor when they go to that.
They could sign him to anything they want. If he's willing to agree to it, he could sign anything before they even get there.
Yeah.
But
they could sign a long-term deal that gives them a 4.5 million AAV over the course of the contract. They could do that. if he wants that.
But the
Similar
thing
to what
is-
they did with Jake Allen, basically.
Yeah, but as
was-
a player, you think, okay, I'm guaranteed 6.1 as a qualifying offer next year, and my low end is about 85% of that, so 5 point whatever. So
Still worth more than what he's worth.
am I willing to accept less than that in a long-term deal? This
Probably
is
not.
where his performance this year, no matter where he plays, Treg, you're right. He's gonna have to perform at a 50+ point pace minimum.
If he doesn't perform in Carolina and they let him go as a free agent, his career is pretty much over
Yes,
because nobody's going to take him for whatever money he wants.
he'll be the next Galchenyuk, where he's going team to team to team.
Team to team to team, or he's just going to end up in the KHL or playing over in Finland for the rest of his career.
Ooh, you know what? Maybe what we could do is we could ask Toronto to take him behind the scenes, kind of off the books, and they can fix him like they did Galchenyuk.
Maybe he'll send Suzuki in on a breakaway.
Wouldn't that be nice? And they'd be on the
But,
same team.
And this is why from a Kotkaniemi standpoint, I think he kind of screwed himself no matter where he goes. I really think he did. And that's on his agent, not really the player. It's on his agent to look out for him for that kind of thing.
I can totally see the player gambling on himself and going for the bigger money.
Who wouldn't?
But the agent read that contract, and he saw the $20 bonus. He knows Aho's number is number 20 because they share the agent. The agent knows what's going on. That's on the agent, not the player. I do not blame Kotkaniemi for this.
I'm not talking blaming about the contract. I'm
No.
talking about his future in the NHL. Because like I said, if he has a bad season or not a bad season, even if he has a season mediocre, right?
You don't want to be qualifying a mediocre season at 6.1.
This needs to be a breakout year for him.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was hoping it would be a breakout year regardless, but to me, a breakout year would have been 45 to 50 points.
Yeah, for me,
Right?
I made my bold prediction on the Canadians Twitter thing the other day. I said 15 goals, 50 points.
It's got to be
But
more
now, at
right?
6.1 million as your 2C,
Yeah,
60 to 70 or bust.
you're looking at at least 20 goals and 67
20
points,
goals,
yeah.
60, 70 points or bust.
And this is Montreal, so he has to outplay Suzuki, who's making league minimum on the ELC.
Oh, 100%. He's got to be. They're going to look at it. They're going to look at it the way that if he's making that much money, that's your top 3 scorer on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's literally making 2 million less than McKinnon. Think
Yep.
about that for a second. 2 million less than McKinnon. For
He's
a guy who's
making
never
300,000 less than Petrie.
He's making 200,000 more than Huberdeau.
for a guy
Like we can throw names back and
for
forth.
a guy
Like,
who's
let's
never
just say
scored
he's
more than
making
11
more than
goals.
what he's worth.
He's making 6 million more than me.
Yeah.
5.9 million more than you and I combined.
So are we all in agreement that
Kotkaniemi screwed,
regardless of where he goes,
regardless of where he goes. He
Yeah,
screwed
this
himself.
is- Yeah, he
he's
kind
really
of shot
he's
himself.
really
in the
put
foot.
himself in a corner, right?
He has. He has.
Ah.
And this, I mean, Carolina's point of view, this has done everything they wanted to do. Whether he goes to them or not, this is Dundon saying, fuck you to everybody in the league. Because, he feels like he's super awesome and he deserves this.
Yep.
For Montreal, it kind of screws up their cap situation for a season, but no big deal cap wise.
Yeah.
But the one person that's going to suffer the most out of all of this
It's Kotkaniemi.
Kotkaniemi. He clearly bet on himself, so he had better step the fuck up, no matter where he plays.
So Blaine, you're saying they match it?
Well, personally, I would let him go and use the assets to make the trade.
But you
But
think
I think they will. I think they'll match.
I personally think they should let him go. And I think Bergevin's not going to match it. Matt, what about you?
I think they're gonna match, but I don't think they should either. I think that first and third can be used, and there's teams right now that are that they might be able to still take advantage of. There's names out there, as you said, Monahan's out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure that with how
With 2 firsts, you can easily get a Monahan.
oh yeah, and then but there's a lot of people that are out there that are like, oh well, you take that money and you go after Pedersen. Well, we already know that's not going to happen. You look at maybe the King, right? Yeah. Well, we know Bergevin is sneaky, but there's a lot of people that are looking at Eichel. You look at the Kings, and they've got Turcotte coming up. They got Byfield coming in.
Do they trade for Deneau?
My thoughts on that were maybe they would look at a young guy like Velarde.
Because he was in the deal for Pacioretty at first.
He was.
The rumored Los Angeles deal that happened on draft day in 2018 when they traded him. That was going to be Velarde.
Yeah. But then at the same time, you look at other teams that we know that their names have been out there. One being Monahan, another being Dvorak. Do you look at possibly, I'm not going to say Duchesne because he's making a lot more than what he's worth. However, it was a player that the Canadians were after. There'd have
Johansson
to be
too.
and that was the other one, Johansson. There would have to be some salary tension there. You look at their structure. They're both making 8 mil. One's 5 years left. One's 4 years left. We know they're proven players. One's 30, one's 29. Who knows? And then the other name, I don't want this to happen because I've never been a fan of the player. The other one would be Nazem Kadri in Colorado, because there's players that are coming up within that organization that need to be signed. He's making just over 4 mil for 1 more year.
You also need the guy to be able to play in the playoffs if you make it.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
And he doesn't.
Yeah.
Not that when he does play, he's great, but he's been suspended in the playoffs more often than he's played in the playoffs. So no,
there's names out there. Whatever the decision is made, if Kotkaniemi goes to Carolina, Montreal cannot start the season with the team that they have.
No, God, no. They need to replace
no,
that.
but they have the assets.
And they have the assets exactly
to go out and get a bona fide number 2 center, not a.
But they won't just be able to be like, well, Evans will be our 2C, Paling will be our 3, and say Paquette will be our 4th. That's not going to happen.
Taking my emotions about everything out of it, I can't see business-wise why Bergevin would let his 3rd overall pick from 4 years ago, walk without retaining him. I realize that he is overpaid by about 3.5 to 4 million. That's the issue with this offer sheet. It creates an overpayment issue, but it's for 1 year.
Yeah.
And you could possibly work your way around things a little bit to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just can't see them letting him go when he has been, he's been in their plans. I know that we argue back and forth about, his matchups and is he really part of the plan, but you don't just let a 3 overall pick walk in a revenge offer sheet.
Yeah.
Also, I think the emotions on Bergevin's part will say, you know what? Fuck me. No, fuck you. That's why I think he's going to hold on. Asset wise, it's better to hold on to what you know than to try and get something on the side that we're just assuming that he's going to make a trade for someone else. We don't know that those are available.
Yeah.
So
I know there's people that are out there that are talking, well, move Drouin to center or move this person to center.
How well did that work the first time, right?
That's exactly it, right?
However, a big fuck you to Carolina too would be, I'll call your bluff, and I'm not matching it.
Agreed.
I think Carolina wants Montreal to match this. They have no intention.
Of course they do.
They have no intention of Kotkaniemi playing on their team.
None.
And Bergevin could sit there and say, all right, fuck you guys. I'm calling your bluff. Take him.
Yeah, let's see how he does. Yeah.
So this is part of why I think we're not going to hear anything from the Canadians Because I know Carolina within a day said, "Oh, we're matching," and they started playing stupid little games online. And, well, stupid little games. They were funny. They were having fun with it online, and it created a buzz, which is good. But in this case, I think the Canadians are going to be really quiet for the week because Bergevin is coming in off of holidays so that he can deal with this. So maybe what he's going to do through the week is maybe make some calls to other GMs and say, "Hey, what would it cost to get this guy?"
Yeah,
or
if
that
I've got
guy?
this first and third as the compensation that I'm getting,
Yeah.
how can
Or
I flip? How can I flip this with
if
something?
I wrap these in with say a couple other assets,
Yeah.
what am I willing? Am I able to get a Monahan? Am I able to get a Dvorak? Like
Yeah.
he'll make these calls, and then at the end, they'll probably wait until the last day and say we're matching, or we're letting him go, and then minutes after he's gone, and we have a trade to announce. Like it's. But I honestly think that the Canadians are just going to hold on to him because they know what they have with him.
I don't think they do, but I'm not going to be shocked if they do. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I
If
think
they-
it's
if they
on
do
a
get the,
strictly. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
no, sorry.
On a strictly business front, as a team general manager who has to think of the team now and the future, gotta let them go. Even if your team takes a step back and now you're like, okay, we're letting them go. Now we got 2 first-round picks and a very deep draft where we could be. And Carolina's not guaranteed to make the playoffs because their defense and goaltending is a bit, susceptible. We'll get to a top 10 and a mid-round and a top 15 draft pick.
Yep.
In a
And
draft
that's
in
the thing.
Montreal.
Where do you expect the draft pick to fall? Because I know Carolina took a little bit of a step back with losing Dougie Hamilton.
Well, everybody's saying like, oh, well, Carolina's going to win their division, or they're going to be top in this or top in that. So it's going to be,
No.
25 plus pick. I'm like, I don't think it's going to be. I think
Metropolitan-
it's going to be a 15 to 20 pick, and it's not protected. So even if they do completely shit the bed, it ends up being a top 10 pick. Well, there you go. And the draft's in Montreal, so that would give them 2 firsts, a second, 3 thirds, 2 fourths, a fifth, a sixth, and 2 sevenths for next year.
I think they're more concerned with actual players on the ice.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, 100%.
But yeah.
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you're.
But assets would be there. If they wanted to throw a first, they'd have a first. They wanted to throw it a couple thirds, they'd have a third, et cetera, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
All I know is Aaron Manning is pissed on Twitter.
Oh my God. I took some time off there, go camping, and enjoyed my summer. And I'm like, unplugged for a bit. Yeah, this is nice. Then you get back online, you're starting to ease back in, and then this happens. And the sewage that flies out of Montreal, Habs Twitter and social media in general, you got to be very, very careful with who you follow and who you listen to.
This is all Drouin and Bergevin's fault, according to
Yeah.
social media.
No. So bottom line, we all believe that he is overpaid. We all feel that they probably should at least make some calls to see what else they can find with the assets that they would get. And we're 2 for 1 on thinking that the Canadians are going to keep him. And 1 to 2 for him walking. So yeah, should be a fun week in Montreal. Yay. All right. So any final thoughts, Matt?
Not on this, but I do have something to report. It looks like the NHL is likely going to go back to the Olympics this year. And they did announce what the Olympic groupings are going to be. So Group A is going to be Canada, US, Germany, and China. So that should be really fun to watch.
China's going to love that group.
China's going to love that group. Group B, Russia, Czech, Swiss, and Denmark. And Group C is Finland, Sweden, Slovakia, and Latvia.
Nice.
So that's all I got to say. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this debacle of this Kotkaniemi saga and what ends up happening from there, or if they jump out and get it, Elias Pettersson.
Treg,
It's not
Any
gonna
final thoughts, and
happen.
maybe thoughts on if China will have a game where they actually score a goal?
No. I do have something to say though. I do have a contest out on Twitter. You can win a playoff jersey. Always bet on red. With anyway, I'll show it to you in a second. It's a contest. All you have to do is follow me or Habs Unfiltered. Tag 2 friends and answer the question of last show. What team did I say I don't hate? So it's pretty easy. If you do all this, you could win yourself a T-shirt from Tricolor Sports, and it's this one right here.
You know what? You disgust me. I know the answer to the team you don't hate, and you disgust me. Horrible.
6 other people do too right now. So if you do that, I'll retweet this today. And for our next show, Thursday. When's our next show? Wednesday.
Yeah, the plan's to have it out sometime Thursday or Friday. Everything depends on Matt's work schedule.
Okay. Anyway, whenever we do our next show or the show after, that's when we'll announce the winner.
All right. And for me, I just want to thank everyone for listening. I'm just overwhelmed with the support that we've had with the show. We're almost at 4,000 followers on Twitter. People are starting to follow us on Instagram, and we're now on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube. As we speak, I've got video. I'm going to be putting that onto YouTube so that you can look at our faces, block my face and Tregs, and just stare at the beauty that is Matt Smith. We're also on TikTok. I just started a TikTok account for Habs Unfiltered. I thought, time to get with the times. My teenagers keep, saying, "Hey, Dad, you're so damn old." I'm like, all right, I'll get TikTok.
Do I have to dance or something now?
You got to wear pants if you do.
Nope. Not happening.
But we can figure out something. We can get some TikTok videos out there. We'll organize some. So follow Habs Unfiltered on YouTube, TikTok. Keep listening. Want to thank you for doing that. And remember, if you are talking about it, so are we.